Good evening. Uh, okay, well, I I wanted to tell a funny story, and then I also before that I wanted to maybe explain something. Um, I don't like having to um, in the truth that I'm telling, the things that I know about David Koresh and the stories that I know from other people, and I was reading some things today that I have from some former members, and it's man, it's bad. Anyway, I was thinking I don't like, I don't like that I well, when I say I have to do this, what I mean by that is that if I'm going to tell the history, right, and we're going to be accurate, then unfortunately we have to go to dark places because, yeah, there's a lot of darkness. That's the weird thing is like when we were in the message, it was supposed to be so wonderful, right? We're going to the kingdom, and we're gonna. And then when you think back on it, and especially in the later years, and with the stories I'm reading, and it's um, it's hard to really relate in a way. Like we thought we were doing God's will. Like it's so nuts, but that's the way it was. Um, so yeah, just to let you know, I mean, I'm trying to be truthful and accurate, and then the other problem is I've gotten, most of the comments have been very positive, and most of, a lot of thumbs up, very few downvotes. There's been a few, very very few. Like most videos don't have any downvotes at all. I have 10 now. And then there's my marriage video has a couple maybe, and then the Sally Jesse show has some, and um, I realized the other day that I'm competing with a ghost in a way. Well, he's a legend, right? He's like King Arthur. He is this symbol in American history of resistance to government oppression, and I get that. I do. I understand. Um, yeah, I mean, I can't. There's nothing that I can do about that. That is what he is, and the Branch Davidians. So, and I'm not trying to end that or destroy that. That's fine. But because people have that in their minds, then it's like, oh, well, then how dare you say? I mean, it's like if I say something bad about him, oh, oh, you must be saying the government was just did the greatest thing in the world, and I never said that. Of course, because some people, complex thinking is harder for them, I guess. And I'm not trying to say people are stupid. I'm trying to say that people like simple narratives. So yeah, just to clear things up, one guy said my David Koresh tried to destroy my marriage video. He said that it was fake news. Yeah, and then David Koresh was a leader and people were following him voluntarily. Well, I never said that he wasn't a leader, and I never said that they weren't following him voluntarily. So I don't know. All right. So with that out of the way, and then I'm gonna make a list of 10 ideas for future content, and then I'm gonna put the list up in a very short video, and then I'm going to we'll vote on which ones people want to see first, and that of course will generate a priority because I'll tabulate the votes, and we'll see what order I should do them in. Because obviously at some point I can do them all, but I want to know what would be the best order. Other news: I'm in contact with a former original Davidian, and this gentleman is very nice. And I was going to I did actually speak to him and have some more information on some things on the old Davidians, the original Davidians, so we can do some more. I can have more accurate information there, so that's interesting. Okay. So plenty of ideas, plenty of content coming. I just have to organize it. So the story for tonight is about the school buses. So back in 1984, we were living in Waco, Texas, in the city of Waco proper. And this was during David Koresh's exile from Mount Carmel. In this case, as Vernon Howell. He had left Mount Carmel in 1984 voluntarily, though under duress, because George Roden was getting fairly the type of talk that was coming out of George Roden's mouth was indicating possibilities of violence. It was occurred to me, by the way, the other day that the first one who ever brought guns into any of this was George. Before David Koresh ever had guns, George had guns, just to be clear. So I'm not saying that necessarily justifies or does not justify anything. That's not my point. Just to get the order of operations correct, George Roden had guns first. So in Waco, we had a house that we were renting from a woman who knew Lois Roden. And I can tell the story behind that house some other time. There's some stories there. We'll leave that aside. So Vernon was buying school buses. And I mean, when I say a school bus, the picture you first get in your mind is precisely and exactly what we were buying. They were yellow, and they were the full-length standard issue school bus. We got them on the cheap, you know. One time we loaded everybody in the bus in Waco. We drove up to Keene, Texas. There's a Seventh Day Adventist, it's kind of a Seventh Day Adventist location. There's a university there. And we just kind of wandered around the university and made a nuisance of ourselves trying to convert people. So we used the bus that way sometimes. The purpose of the buses was to, Vernon wanted to turn them into tour buses and put some kind of electrical power system in them so we could power his musical equipment. And the idea was to go around to Adventist colleges and just, because the music was going to be the message. His music was going to be the way the message would spread. So there was a bus that we had at this particular property in Waco. When we were working on the bus, we were like he wanted to paint it blue at one point. And so we were scraping the paint with little razor blades, the most mind-numbingly, excruciatingly boring work. And then Vernon was a mechanic of sorts, and he liked to tinker with things, and, he was okay. I mean, I think his biggest problem as a mechanic was he was impatient. So sometimes maybe he cut corners, but I mean, let's just say 75% of the time things would work out okay. Yeah. I mean, it's not that he couldn't do it, but he could be impatient with things. So anyway, and for example, so he's working, I'm in the bus for some reason, and we're the only two people in the bus. He's sitting at the front, obviously in the driver's seat. I'm way in the back. There's an emergency exit door in the back. So I'm in the back, the door's open, and I've got my legs swinging, dangling out the back of the bus. I'm 19. So, and the engine's running and he's driving it, except he took the gear shifter off and set it aside. So he's shifting gears with a screwdriver. He's got a screwdriver jammed into somehow using a screwdriver and manipulating the gearbox so that he could shift gears. And then there's a clutch, obviously, but there's no brakes. And we're on kind of an incline. So I guess he's using the clutch you can do that, right? Using the clutch to pull us forward or whatever and try to keep us, I don't know what he's doing. I don't remember. He's obviously testing something. Yeah, this is a fairly large piece of property. You know, it's in the city, but it's not a small plot. So we're in the backyard, um, and all of a sudden the engine quits, and and there's no brake, so we start to coast backwards. It's not super steep, but it's steep enough that we're picking up speed. we're you know, there's some tree. Well, there's a house behind us. You know, well, I've told you I'm sitting in the back of the bus, so I'm going forward from my point of view. Um, and I'm like, the first thought that came into my mind, we can't die, can we? Now, of course, and the reason why is because we're on a mission from God, right? Like we're doing the work of God. Like I'm in the group. We have to save the world. I'm serious. I'm not. I'm in this thing. Like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. It can't end like this. Like my life is flashing before my eyes. We're rushing toward this house anyway. And Vernon's, you know, he's up in the front and kind of flailing around. He spoke about this later. You know, like he didn't even know what he was doing. Well, it just so happened to be a tree. Oh, and I pull my legs in really quick. You know, like I can. So anyway, there was a tree that we maneuvered into, and the tree had a low branch. Okay, so the side of the bus caught the tree branch and acted like a spring brake, you know, and then uh, you know, we're safe. Yeah, yeah. So that was a story that Vernon told later. You know, in fact, he always remembered when I said that. He used that because I told him what I was thinking. We can't die, can we? You know, we're on a mission from God, like the Blues Brothers, right? Like you can't stop them. Because he liked that. He was like, yeah, David had faith, you know, and sure enough, we didn't die. We were fine. So God was watching over us, right? Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's my funny story. Happy times, you know. This is one of the better times. Living at that house in Waco. There's a lot of other stories associated with that house, but I just wanted to make a short little video to tell you guys a funny story. Adopted Son is coming, part 2. I'm going to warn you, it's going to be dark because this is where, unfortunately, we're going to run into what I believe to be what I'm trying to do is we have to get down into David Koresh's core problem, his core failing. And this story will illustrate what that is. So till next time, no later than Sunday night, I'll have this ready. Take care.